We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along.
Hi, and welcome to the Best of LA live with Suzy Prudden on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. I have a wonderful guest. I usually say that because all my guests are wonderful. And this is, when I say unusual, it's not that this guest is unusual, but her profession is, it's not unusual, but it's unusual. My guest is Cynthia Valderrain, and she is a dog trainer. And she's brought all kinds, and she didn't bring her dog. She got the message that she could bring her dog after she'd already left home. And so her dog is sitting at home, watching the show, and wishing she could be here, and saying, "Ma, why didn't you take me? I belong there." But she's sitting at home. So, Cynthia, welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you brought all kinds of things to show us. How did you get started being a dog trainer?
When I was younger, my parents had dogs, and I went through obedience classes with those dogs and did quite well. And I really enjoyed the communication I had with the dogs and myself, learning how to communicate with them and training them to do the different commands I wanted them to do. I knew it was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Sometime later in my life, I actually found a school, Animal Behavior College, that does, training, proper training, hands-on training, tests, and, different types. It was very hands-on, and working with an actual trainer to make sure I was doing everything correctly and that I knew the information. And I got certified in 2008, and I've been helping pets with their people ever since then.
Helping pets with their people.
Yes. Because that's actually what I'm doing. I'm helping the pet.
Oh.
I'm teaching the people, not so much the animals.
Right. Now, and this may seem like a far out question, but it seems perfectly normal to me. As an animal trainer, it's not just commands.
No.
There must be so much more to it than that.
So much more, yes.
So explain the much more.
It's.
I mean, you can probably feel the animal.
Oh yes. Animals communicate with us a lot differently than we communicate with each other. They're more body energy, body language. They know what we're feeling, but they don't necessarily know why we're feeling it. And if we're getting excited and upset about something, they don't understand as to why. They just know that we're excited, and then they either need to stay away from us, or they think we're playing a game with them. So you need to learn how to read your dog and know what your dog is basically trying to say to you. And, whether it be I'm playing, I'm not playing, I have to go outside to go to the bathroom, I'm, looking for my toy under the bed, whatever the case may be.
Do you do any work with cats?
I have. I taught this one cat to come to a clicker. Do you know what a clicker is? The clicker training, yes. And I also taught her to sit.
Oh, how!
Yeah.
I had a neighbor upstairs who I have two Abbeys. I have two
nice.
rescue Abbeys, and I had an Abbey before that too. I love Abbeys, and rescues are very different than kitties that you get when they're real little. They come with a lot of baggage.
Yes, they do.
But so it took mine a long time before they actually started to show me that they were willing to get past their past. But even before they were willing to get past their past, when I was sick, they were both in my bed.
Yes. They know when you're not feeling well, and animals also have been known to, find cancer in their people and stuff like that. Sense it and find it. And
they're also, what I've understood is they take on some of the diseases sometimes of their master. They're sent to protect us.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they're your companion. They're not your pet. Well, they are your pet, but they're not an object that you own. They are a companion. They are to live life with you, not for you, not from you, but with you.
They're my buds.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're absolutely my buds. Same thing I had with the horse.
Yes.
Very, very sensitive animals.
Yes.
So you got started when you were a kid. Now, where do you train?
Right now, I do private lessons in people's homes. So I will go to someone's home and assess, what problems they're having. And I try to analyze everything like the dog's sleeping arrangements, where they're sleeping, where they stay when the people aren't home, what they're eating, um, what they're playing with, and how many toys they might have or not have, and how the people are interacting with the animal. And then I will sit down and, assess a treatment plan and work with them,
What's the most difficult situation you've had to deal with?
Back when I was at PetSmart, I had group classes, and one of my students, she has a pit bull lab mix, and we were in a stay hold where they had to stay, and the owners actually walked around the corner, leaving the dogs in my care. And one of the dogs, there was a lot of people walking around, which is what we want. We want distractions. And one of the students' dogs got up, and there was another couple that weren't part of the class. They were just walking by with little dogs, and so the other student's dog ran to those dogs. I went running after that dog, and so did the owner. And the lab mix just lost control, and she went after those two dogs. And but I was able to stop her, get control over her, and assure the people that their dogs were okay.
It must have been terrifying.
It was very terrifying, yes. And I felt bad. I felt helpless because the lady had to leave my classroom.
Yeah.
She was so distraught about what her dog had done, and she had to leave. And I wanted to help her so bad.
Wouldn't she take private lessons?
Well, she went home, and I talked to her after the class, and she actually did come back to my class, and she finished the class, and she graduated with her class.
Oh,
and I was
good.
very, very proud of that.
Oh, good. Yeah, because that can be devastating.
Very devastating.
I have my cat Grace, who is this beautiful, sensuous, long hair. She's a combo Abyssinian Somali, which is the long-haired Abyssinian. She looks like the sweetest, gentlest, kindest, sexiest cat in the world. And my neighbor brought his cat down to visit. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. He said, oh, no, they like each other. They're talking to each other through the window. I don't think it's a good idea. Well, he brought his cat down. He had a Bengal. And his cat's ears went back, and Grace attacked. And there was cat hair flying all over my house. Now, I must say I was smart enough not to get in the middle. And I screamed at my neighbor. I said, don't you dare go in there, try and separate them. I ended up throwing a blanket over them. And so I kept Grace in the blanket, told him to take Bo out. Mm-hmm. And I said, you got to take him to the vet because she's bitten him. He said, no, he'll be fine. He put him down. And Bo, gorgeous cat, tall, Bengal, beautiful cat, just lay down and put his paws over his head. It was so sweet. I said, oh, God. So I warned people. I have a sign on my door that says attack cat. And recently the plumbers were in my house doing all kinds of plumbing in the closet that I didn't know held her sanctuary. Because they never saw her when they'd done work there. She's the guy that does all the handiwork at my building said, I've never seen that cat before. The other one I'd see all the time. Well, it turns out that we had taken out her sanctuary because they had to fix the plumbing. She didn't like it. Yeah. She attacked him. So when they'd come to the door and they'd look and they'd see her, they'd automatically start backing up. I said, I used to have to lock her up. So there's a sign. I tell people, don't mess with that cat.
No.
Don't mess with that cat because I don't know how to train a cat. I mean, if you can train a cat, you're brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I trained one to sit, but I don't know if I could train one not to attack people.
Well, she no, probably not because it's her territory and she was threatened.
Yes.
So you brought all these toys with you and all these different leashes and stuff. Tell us about that.
I just brought different equipment that people can use to train a dog. Some of the I like to say old school ways of training is with
it's a choke collar.
It's a choke chain, exactly. And these are used way back. It was a popular as a correction. You would get the dog's attention by jerking on the chain or something like that.
That's what we used.
Yes, and that's what I used when I was younger too. But when I was in school learning, we I am now a reward-based trainer, meaning you want to reward the dog for doing things that you want them to do, rather than correcting them from things you don't want them to do.
You want to do the same
You
thing
know,
with children.
Exactly. So if you
Same thing with spouses.
I don't know about that.
Couldn't resist.
So if you like, again, you're working with your dog. You want your dog to be your companion, your person. You want to work with them and not force them into something, or keep things from them when they don't do what you want them to do, and stuff like that.
So you don't recommend the choke collar?
I don't. It would be a very last resort type of thing. I wouldn't recommend it right at first. That or the pinch collar.
That's
with
ugly.
The prongs and stuff like that.
That's ugly. Did I see that?
Yes, of course you can.
That's disgusting.
It would actually grab the dog's skin
Oh,
around the
yeah.
neck and pinch, causing pain. So that would be used for mainly your bully breeds, the really strong big dogs that are hard for people to handle. It's better than getting knocked down on the ground. But again, that would be strictly last resort. Nothing else has worked.
Reminds me of a curb bit that bridles. I always use the drop D, which is the softest snaffle that a horse can.
Yeah.
You want to use the soft. This is truly disgusting. It looks like S&M.
Oh, okay. I'm more positive reinforced, so you want to mark the behaviors that you like instead of correcting the behaviors you don't like. So I use a clicker, very big on clicker training, and this marks a behavior. So like if you ask your dog to sit, and as soon as the dog would sit, you would click it and then offer it
a treat?
Yes, a treat or a reward, whatever its motivation is. You do have to find your dog's motivation. If they're food driven, then treats are going to work really handy. If they're more toy motivated, then you would have to find a toy or something that would work in that same aspect. You want to find what the dog is motivated to find, wants to focus on, and is willing to work for.
That's wonderful. Let me see that. No, I was thinking of a different clicker than this, only because these are fancy.
These are
You have your own clickers.
Yes, I do.
And do you sell these?
I do.
Good for you. Well, that's smart.
You also can use a word to mark a behavior, because you're not always going to have your clicker with you, and it's better to not mark the behavior at all than to mark it late. So let's say you
like dog sits on the corner
and you're searching the house
and you get home and click. They can't compute that.
Mentally they're elsewhere.
Yeah,
they're mentally elsewhere.
They're there. They're
Yes.
in the moment.
Exactly. So you want to use a word that is very easy and quick to say. I like to use the word yes, but I don't just simply say yes, because every time I'd say that word, my dog would expect a reward. So if somebody were at my house and they say, "Oh, do you happen to have a soda?" "Yes, it's in the fridge." She would expect something.
Oh.
So I say more like, "Yes."
So you have a different inflection.
Yes. So I'm not going to answer anyone's question with, "Yes, it's in the fridge." But now I do have to be careful, because there's times I'll be watching television, and this has actually happened, and the Olympics or something are on, and somebody wins a gold, and I'm like, "Yes!"
Hey, treat time.
If I want my word to mean anything, I have to back it up with reward. So they're very, very powerful. I really do wish my dog was here. I could demonstrate a couple things, but she's not.
We'll have you back on.
Well, thank you. I would love that. I would love that.
So my cats have me well trained that in the morning they get a certain type of treat. Molly likes crunchy and Grace likes soft. So, but they come into the kitchen and they'll look at me and it's Ma, treat time. Mm-hmm. So I'm well trained. And then in the evening they have the bonita. It's called kitty caviar.
Oh.
And that they go completely crazy about. But if I forget,
they won't let you.
No, they won't let me. Yeah. So what are some of the other things that you have?
Long lines are very important. You want to use a long line to work on come and other exercises like that, because you want to have control over your dog without actually having it on a tight leash. This they can drag around. This particular rope is 40 feet long, so they have like 40 feet to kind of be wherever.
Oh my goodness.
But you have the other end. So if they see a cat or a squirrel or something and they take off and they're not listening to the word come,
I have
they're
one of
only
those.
going to go.
Okay, Donna has joined the conversation. Donna's dog has been trained by Cynthia.
Yes.
So Donna, you have one of those?
I do. Cynthia had me get that because my dog was a runner when I brought him to Cynthia, and the front door would open and I'd never see him again. He was
Until
that
it
kind of
came
a deal. And so getting that long lead that was loose, I could let him wander off, and he, do the practicing of coming back. That was really important with that.
Well, I've seen people have these leads that roll up into a container thingy.
Yes.
What do you think of those?
Not my favorite.
I noticed it on your face. I'm asking the question, and you're going.
If you go to a park, like what I always recommend to my students, if they're going to use one of those, to use a regular standard leash like this, and take your dog to the park, and then put it on that extended leash and let it run around and do its thing and bzzz, all over the place. But they're not good for exercises like the come command or anything, because when they pull that leash out, it's wanting to pull back. So there's constant pressure on the animal's neck all the time. They don't get a sense of being off leash. But if they're just dragging this rope around, they do have a sense that they're on their own.
Yeah.
But until they hit the end of this, and then they realize they're not. But you always have control without having full control, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes total, and it gives them a sense of freedom.
Exactly.
Whereas the other one doesn't.
They learn to listen to you because there's something in it for them, not because there's constant pressure on their neck.
Suzy.
Yes.
I have a question to ask her.
Absolutely.
What do you feel about those like electric fences that keep the animal from wandering past a certain perimeter of a person's home?
If it's trained properly, when it's first set up and the dog is trained properly on it, I see nothing wrong with them. But I've also heard of dogs crossing and then not being able to get back into their yard because it hurts so bad to cross over.
Yeah.
So I like just fences myself.
Tell them what you did with Dusty with the electronic collar.
Why?
Because it works so well.
Dusty barks at other dogs quite significantly. And I do have the electric collars for emergency situations. And I've actually used one on one of my dogs, not the particular dog I have right now, but my other dog. Because she would see another dog and she would go after that dog, and there'd be nothing I could say, do, scream, or anything else to get her back. Anyway, so we put this collar on Dusty, and he was barking at a dog, and we might not have had it on the right setting.
Well, I didn't mean for you to tell that part.
Okay. Well,
you can tell that part.
The poor thing jumped about 1.5 feet in the air. But
and Dusty's this little dog. Oh gosh.
But no, it worked. It really helped, and now he can look at a dog and not be so quick to bark. And is he much better at that?
He's much better.
So
I have one more question. Well, a friend of mine, she has a dog. I forget the type of dog that she has, but she told me that she had to punish the dog, and I guess the way she punished the dog didn't like it, because the first chance the dog got, it broke out the house and was gone until he wanted to come back. And I said, that's because your dog didn't like what you did to him. It was like, well, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here, and I'll come back when I'm ready to come back. And she was going through it too. She didn't know what was
and dogs will bite their owners if they feel they need to. If a treatment is too harsh, there's animals are animals. They're not 100% trustworthy. If it hurts,
they're trustworthy to be animals.
Exactly.
That's what you have to remember.
Exactly.
They're trustworthy to be animals.
If it hurts, if they're scared, if they're, they will bite if they have to.
Well, Gracie bites me with regularity. She does occasionally draw blood. Donna, she's drawn blood with you too, right?
Yes, she has.
It's just who she is. She bites, and I warn people. I say, don't mess with that cat. And she doesn't. When I'm petting her, she'll bite me, and I know it's a love bite, but I've seen her really be nasty bite. Yeah. And I tell people that cat bites. And I had a friend of mine over who was teasing her, and she hissed him. And I said, Michael, don't mess with her. Trust me. You do not want your face missing. Because she will go after you. And he started to again. I said, Michael, and he stopped. But I told, she's a cat. And Abbeys were bred for protection. That's their heritage. They were the Egyptian temple cats.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for cats. I have a lot of respect for cats. I used to groom dogs too. I've done grooming. I won't groom a cat. I have respect for cats.
Yeah, my cats won't let me cut their nails.
Yeah.
So when they want my attention and they tap me, I pay attention. So what else do you have here? That's an interesting
This is an
piece.
interesting leash. This has it's kind of scrunchy in the middle, and it's supposed to. What this does is absorb the shock of the dog's pull. So if you have a really strong puller, the leash absorbs the shock, so your shoulder doesn't. So you don't feel the exhaustion of that dog just constantly yanking on you and stuff like that. I've actually used this on a friend's dog, and it was actually pretty amazing.
I have a scar on my arm right here that I got when I was 22. When my Great Dane, I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant, and my Great Dane took off
Oh,
with me holding on to the leash.
8 months pregnant.
And 8 months pregnant, and I didn't let go of the leash, but I can't remember why I got the scar, but I remember getting cut on something because the Great Dane took off.
Well, part of the leash, yeah.
Whatever it was,
Yeah.
I still carry the scar. The dog is long gone, but the scar remains.
And forever.
Yeah. What else? You got more stuff.
Instead of the choke chain or the prong collar like I showed you earlier, there's a couple of other leashes that I highly recommend. One is called the Gentle Leader or a halty, and it works like a halter for a horse. It goes over,
Oh, I see it, yeah.
over the dog's nose and behind the ears, and then you attach the leash under the chin. When you control the dog's head, you control the whole body. The body has no choice but to follow the head. So when you're I really wish I had a stuffed dog to demonstrate this on.
Well, we're going to bring your dog the next time,
Yes.
because I'm sure people are going to want more information. This is wonderful.
So
This is like a martingale for your horse when you don't want to have a bit in the horse's mouth.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not going to put a collar and a leash on a dog or a horse and expect to walk it down the street, So you would use a halter.
Right.
This is pretty much the same design. It goes over the nose, and so when the dog pulls, it's going to pull its head around, and the body has no choice but to follow. A child can walk the biggest of dogs with one of these things on,
Wow.
with very little effort. If the dog refuses to have it on the nose, which I've seen dogs do, I actually had a dog rear up like a horse and can go completely over, and the owner panicked and said, no, I don't want that on my dog anymore. And then I would recommend, I have to say I didn't blame her either. I was like, that was quite shocking. This is called an Easy Walk harness. So this works just like a regular harness, but instead of the leash fastening on the back of the dog, it fastens in the front by the chest. So the same example, if the
So
dog
you
pulls, the whole body turns around. So you have the dog's control from the front rather from the middle of the back. So both of
Well,
these,
those would make much more sense.
yes, than the
Well,
prong collar.
The prong collar, I think the person who invented that should be shot. Excuse me. It's just mean. But I've seen, I was thinking about the stable where I learned how to ride, and the way some of the owners treated their horses was just. There was one trainer who had his horses there. He was training them to jump. And they had nails sticking out of all the bars, and if the horse didn't jump high enough, they'd hit him. Yeah, and then somebody. One night, in the middle of the night, went and hammered down all the nails. They blamed it on me. I was very glad that it happened, but I wasn't the one who did it.
Uh-huh.
What they thought I was.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Some people can be not so nice, but
So I do recommend these first. If these don't work, I'm not totally against these. These are a very last resort though, but everything else has been tried and everything else has been exhausted before we go to something like this.
And then so are there different breeds that are easier to teach than others?
Yes. Poodles are very, very quick learners, very intelligent dogs. Most terriers are, even though they're tenacious. Spaniels are very willing to work with you. Some of your more difficult ones are your bull-headed breeds, like bulldogs, French bulldogs, American bulldogs, because they're bull-headed and they're very independent and they like to do things on their own. And they will challenge their people, and so it takes that much more patience and that much more persistence than the dog has for you to get what you want.
My mother used to raise English Mastiffs.
Big dogs.
Big dogs. I mean, we're talking
And they like to drool.
awful. They just awful. When we had our Great Dane, they drool too.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I would be having dinner, and the Great Dane, whose head came up to here, wanted what we had. He wouldn't sit down and ask for it. He just put his face in the food. Okay, I get your point. He was a good dog, though. He did the funniest thing one time. We had a little terrier shepherd mix, and then we had Samson. And Samson was up. He died when he was about 10 months old. It was an awful story.
Oh.
But we went to my grandparents' house. My grandparents lived in the country outside of New York City. They had this wonderful hill, which there was a lawn area, and it emptied into a lake. So Bouncer, this snappy little dog, is teasing Samson. It was a galumph.
Yeah.
And Bouncer's racing back and forth, and Samson's chasing her. And Bouncer hightails it towards the water. And Samson is hightailing it after her like this, galumph, galumph, galumph. As Bouncer gets to the edge of the water, she makes a fast turn to the left, and
the dog
Samson
didn't.
ends up in the water. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful moment. So tell me, I've got a zillion stories, I'm sure you do too. How can people get in touch with you?
I have a website. It's called cynthiasdogtraining.com. And my phone number is 714-317-6595. And my email address is ccvelderain@yahoo.com. I don't even know my email
Spell
address.
Velderain.
V as in Victor, ELDERRAIN.
And so, do you work which areas?
Costa Mesa mainly, but I do some training in LA as well.
Okay.
And I do group classes in a Costa Mesa park, and then I do, like I said, mainly I'm helping people privately in their homes.
And do you have any videos?
I don't with me right offhand, no.
No. Do you have any YouTube stuff?
I do have YouTube, yes.
And so is it the address for the YouTube if the people wanted to see it?
That's a good question.
We'll have that answer for you the next time Cynthia is here.
Well, also they can just search
I'll put
under
it
her
on,
name.
Yeah, search under my name, and I will also put it on my website.
Could you do training on the web?
I could probably direct somebody, but without being able to see what they're doing with the dog, it
Like
was
Could you-
harder.
Skype.
I could probably Skype it.
Yeah, you could do Skype. That's
I could do
that's a
Skype.
good idea. Yeah. Do
That's
that.
excellent. Yes.
And also basic training. Is it? I remember when I was a kid, we got a puppy.
Mhm.
I think I was 4, my sister was 8, and we took him to training school at the local horseback riding stable.
Okay.
And it was great space. I love this, and we're walking around the ring with our dogs on our left.
Uh-huh.
And Lucky was part shepherd, and we don't know what else. And it was so much fun training him. He got so excited when he did something right.
Yes. Yes, they do.
They do.
And they get very proud.
very
And
proud.
dogs also get embarrassed too. So,
Oh, I've not seen a dog get
As do their owners.
as do their owners.
Yeah. I had a horse one time when I was training. I was learning dressage while he was learning dressage. We were both learning together. And one day by himself in the paddock, he was practicing. And it was by himself.
Mhm.
He was practicing the steps
Oh, wow.
all by himself because he was loving the opportunity of learning that. I'd never
Yes.
seen it before.
Yes.
It was fun.
Very
So
fun.
what else? Now, when you have a basic class, you teach basic what?
Basic commands. I'm basically teaching the person how to communicate with their dog on a level that the dog is going to understand. Because remember, the dog does not speak English. Okay, so we don't teach the dogs anything they don't really already know. They know how to sit, they know how to lay down, and they know how to come to us, but maybe not when we want them to. And that's basically what I'm helping the people do, is communicate to that dog when they want something and when they want them to do it.
And when a dog gets ornery and just doesn't want to do anything, what do you do?
You you at least get one command that you know the dog knows strongly, and you have to end training on a good note, and you have to end training on your note. So let's say if the dog has had enough, and we all had enough, there's times that we're just not in the mood for it, you have to respect that too, but at least get that one last command that you're asking for, then you release the dog, and then you call it.
Quits.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But if you just get fed up and be like, fine, just go,
Oh,
then
no.
you're teaching the dog that they just have to be the big enough butthead, and then they get what they want.
Donna, you showed me a note, but I couldn't read it.
I don't understand just because it's a million miles away. It says Cynthia has a special she was offering to your listeners.
Oh, thank you. Cynthia has a special that she's offering to those of you who are watching now and those of you who are watching at another time or listening. What's your special?
I want to offer 50% off a full, complete evaluation, which it's a 1-hour evaluation where I would sit down with you and go over exactly everything that the dog does throughout its day, where it sleeps, where it spends its day, how much exercise it gets, what kind of food it's eating, the whole thing, and kind of analyze a complete training plan that would help you and your family with your pet.
That's nice. And so tell us once again how people can get in touch with you.
My website is cynthiasdogtraining.com. My email address is ccvelderain, that's V as in Victor, ELDERRAIN @yahoo.com. And my phone number is 714-317-6595. And you can also find me on Facebook as Cynthia Velderain.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So the dogs that are most difficult are like the bulldogs. What about dogs like Dobermans?
I think they're wonderful dogs. Very easy to train.
That's what I've heard. They scare me to
Wonderful
death
dogs.
because of their reputation. But I've heard that they're the most loving and sensitive.
They're very sweet, yes. Very sweet dogs, very quick to learn, and very eager to please.
How about Shepherds?
Love Shepherds. They're probably one of my favorite breeds.
They
would give their lives for you.
How
They would
about
definitely give their lives.
how about what did we have? Airedales.
I don't know a lot about them, but they're fabulous dogs. But again, they're a terrier, so they're a little bit tenacious, and so they will try to do things their own way.
Yeah.
And so, but you just stay on top of it, and there's no dog that's not trainable.
And the thing that I really understand about dogs is that the gentlest, sweetest, kindest, most wonderful dog in the world, if its master is attacked, will try and protect the master.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And the other thing I've learned about dogs is that even if a dog is trained not to play with kitties roughly, they don't know what roughly means.
Correct.
And if it's a new cat, watch out.
Exactly. You have to just use common sense and supervision with when you're introducing a new pet. And to remember they're animals, and you never know what a trigger is and what might trigger your dog.
Right.
The sweetest of dogs can turn on a dime.
Yeah.
So.
That's why it's so weird when people have tigers as pets.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand that either.
I mean, if you can't trust your cat not to bite, having a tiger in your tank, I mean, really, it's.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite story with the pets you've taught, the dogs you've taught?
Oh gosh, I have so many. One is with Donna. When Donna first came to my class, Dusty was so loud and barking and wouldn't sit still, wanted to play with everybody, and I could just see the complete frustration in her face. I hope you don't mind me sharing this story.
No, that's fine.
And
I was ready to leave.
Yeah, she was. And I saw it, and I pulled her aside, and I asked her, I go, just stick with me, work with me. I guarantee you I will get you through this. And just don't give up on me, and I won't give up on you. And she's done a fantastic job, and Dusty's a fantastic dog.
So you really have to know how to read a dog, and you have to know how to read a people.
Yes. Yes.
That's interesting, because you're.
And I had just met Donna. I didn't know her that well, and I knew she was on her way out. I just knew it, and I literally pulled her out of my class to talk to her.
Yeah. And you saved her and saved Dusty. Yeah.
Another one was this Chihuahua. When she first came into the class, she'd sit under the stool, and she, for the first 3 weeks, did not come out from under the stool.
Oh.
But after the 4th week, she was just out with everybody and participated, and she promoted perfectly with everybody else. It was just just a delight to see.
I had that with a student, and I used to teach in New York. I used to teach exercise, and I taught toddlers. And there's with one little boy who he was, I think, closer to 3. And he came with his dad. His dad was very stern. And he wouldn't come into the room. He just wouldn't come into the room. And I've got equipment out and kids doing this and kids doing that. They loved it. He would not come in the room. And his father was getting angry. And I said, no, don't worry. I put 2 chairs by the door. And I said, just sit here. So he would sit there. For 4 weeks he sat there. And I kept telling the father, he'll come in when he's ready. He'll come in when he's ready. On the 5th or 6th week, I put the chairs there. They both sat down, started class, and he was into class. He couldn't run in fast enough. So I always equate young children with animals. If you go to where they are, then you can get them to where you want them to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Puppies, and one thing we need to keep in mind with puppies, especially if you get them young, like right from the mom, everything they're experiencing with you is a first. And they don't know the same things that you know and how they work. So everything you're introducing to your puppy is probably the first time they're ever seeing it, and how that first experience is with that will determine how they respond to that for the rest of their lives. So something traumatic, and it may not be traumatic to you, but in a puppy's eyes, it could be traumatic to them, and it can affect them for the rest of their lives.
Well, what happened to my girls was that they were locked. They were, when they were 6 months old, they had to be given away because the people who owned them, the man was allergic, so he asked his aunt to take care of them, and she didn't want to. She had 2 cats, but she said yes because it was her nephew. They were locked in a bedroom for 6 months. And these are Abbeys. And Abbeys are social cats.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that. So when they came to me, they were very, very, very shy.
Yeah.
And Abbeys are not shy. So I just let them be where they were.
Yeah.
Just be where you are.
Never force a puppy to approach or play with another puppy. You give them time. Let them warm up and do it themselves. You don't want to freak them out and put them in a situation that they're not comfortable with.
And what's the best age to start training?
As soon as you get your dog. It's easier to start a habit than to change one. You have to start that routine the second the dog walks in the door, so to speak. And you always do things the way you want them to be done as that dog gets older.
And what's the best age to get a dog?
That's a good question, and it varies. It depends on the person. If somebody wants, to start off early with a puppy and a clean slate, then obviously 6 to 8 weeks as soon as the puppy comes home. But a lot of times puppies are too much for people. You've got the chewing and the play biting and the running all over the house and peeing and pooping all over the place, and that's more than what some people want to even deal with.
Yeah.
So I would say, I don't want to count an older dog as out, because you can teach an old dog new tricks and a new routine. But if you want to bond with a dog, very close, younger is better. So
now
I'd say
you
under a
just
year.
Got your dog.
Yes.
How old is
she? Was 8 weeks old. She's almost 5 months now. So, and she's an incredible puppy.
Of course she is. Of course she is.
Talking about that stuff with the puppies and the piddle and poop all over the house and all of that. Is there certain ways to deal with that? I know when I was a kid, my dog's nose went in that all the time, and I'm going to guess that's not real.
That's not a good idea, no.
Yeah.
If the only time you can really correct your dog for going to the bathroom where you don't want them to is when you're actually catching them in the act.
Because they don't remember.
Well, it's not that they don't remember. They're going to know they got in trouble for peeing, but they don't know they got in trouble for peeing in the house. They just think they got in trouble for peeing, and then they're not going to remember. But if you catch them in the act and then put them outside or wherever you want them to pee, they're going to be like, oh. It doesn't take just once. It's going to take several times. But when you take them out enough, as often as possible at first, and get that routine going, and always reward them where you want them to go, and nothing happens when they go in the inappropriate area, they're going to learn. Okay, well this is where good things happen to me. Over here I get nothing. So. Except maybe you put in the crate or something.
Well, that's another thing with crate training is there a certain age that you can't do that.
What do you mean?
Well, if say you rescue an older dog and it has issues with going to the bathroom, can it still be crate trained?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Unless there's been some sort of abuse or trauma with a crate. Let's say, like in this situation with her cats, if she were to try to put them in a small room or a crate, she would probably have huge problems with that. So you want to, but yeah, any dog can be trained and any dog can be crate trained.
What the gentleman who had them said to me was that they were locked also for a while in a bathroom, but the bathroom had a screen door. The cat got through it, but then got so terrified being outside because it had never been outside before, it couldn't get back in again. Poor and the trauma, that's the one that bites.
Yeah.
And,
it's trauma, and it's not something that people would think about. Well, what's wrong with this cat? It was fine, just if we have no idea.
Right.
Or it could be a dog or anything.
Right. Well, I'm very, very lucky. My last Abby was also a house cat, except that I had a neighbor who had a cat, and they used to visit through the screen. At first, they yelled at each other for like 6 months, and then they started just talking to each other, and then they used to go wandering out together. But Chloe used to love to get out as fast as she could. Even when she was never, from the moment I got her, all she wanted to do was run outside, and then she teased me till I caught her.
Yes.
But these two girls don't do that, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Because cats are very funny. They'll tease you. They'll let you get just close enough.
Dogs do that too.
And then they'll run.
Dogs do that too.
So, what's the biggest dog you've trained?
I've had a Great Dane in my class. I'm working with a Cane Corso right now.
What's that?
It's in the Mastiff family. It's big and against rules.
Drooly.
Yeah. Those are probably the two of the biggest dogs. Chihuahuas are the smallest, and pretty much everything in between.
Everything in between. That's great. And Shepherds are your favorite. Wait,
one of my favorites. Yes.
Yeah. What are the others?
Dobermans are probably my second favorite. I've always wanted a Great Dane. I almost got one, but where I was staying at the time, it wasn't possible. So
we had Great Dane in New York City.
Well, they're great apartment dogs.
And why do you say that? That's interesting.
Because they're they take up a lot of space because of their size, but as long as you get them out for regular exercise, they're content with just being in the.
Yeah, we used to walk him 4 miles a day.
Yeah.
It was good for us. It was good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we had to move. Remember, I was working on my book the other day, and I said, well, we had to move from our 1-bedroom 5-flight walk up in Greenwich Village. We had the Great Dane, the Terrier, and 2 cats, and I was going to have a baby.
Okay.
And we decided that the 1-bedroom apartment 5 flights up was probably not a good idea for the menagerie, so we moved to Upper West Side and actually had a park right there, which was great.
Oh, very nice.
To take the dogs. And you could, although I doubt you can take leashes off of them now.
It's not recommended.
Yeah. But there are doggy parks.
There are dog parks, yes.
Now, how does that work? Because they get along.
Because they're allowed to be dogs and be in a pack. When a lot of times when dogs show aggression towards each other, there's usually a barrier, like whether it be a leash or a fence or something where the dog can't completely just
check out the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I recommend my students a lot of times go to dog parks and just let their dog run around and be a dog and sniff and
do doggy things.
Just exactly check things out.
That was actually one of the places that made a difference with Dusty.
Yeah.
That we were having problems with a specific dog in class that he was always barking at, and when we had a play date of all the students in the class at the dog park. And when
that's sweet.
Yeah, Cynthia put it together, and when we got Dusty and this other dog together where they could run around and be dogs, they got along great.
They were fine.
Where they were really aggressive in the classroom.
And then did they stop being aggressive from then on in the classroom?
It was a lot better after that.
Yeah. The class was almost over at that point, so Dusty hasn't seen this dog in some time. So.
Suzy.
Yes.
I have a question for your guest. What do you think about Afghans as far as being trained? Are they easy to train or are they difficult?
I've actually never had experience with one, so I can't really answer that question right offhand.
They're beautiful dogs. Yeah, they're beautiful dogs. If I ever have the space, that's what I want.
My mom always wanted Afghans.
Yeah.
I had a friend who had an Afghan, and it was well behaved, but they're more like cats.
Yeah, and Shiba Inus are very cat-like too. Shiba Inus, they're independent and tend to like just to deal with themselves. They don't like to be told what to do. So
Oh, yeah.
that takes just a little bit more persistence on the pet parents.
I had a thought. I know it sounds like I have a friend who has they're racing dogs, greyhound.
Hmm.
She's had greyhounds in the past, and usually the dogs that she's gotten in the past have broken their right hind foot, which is the foot that's what happens to greyhounds. It's the foot they take off with.
Hmm.
And so they come, having been injured, having lived in a tiny cage, and the only time they're out is when they're racing with very, very, very abused animals. This particular dog never made it to the track. So she's very, very lucky because it doesn't have that in its history.
Mhm.
She said they're the sweetest, gentlest, and they don't just own their space. They try and stay as diminutive as possible.
Yeah, they're great dogs.
Yeah. And
They're the greyhounds and Salukis and Whippets, are all part of that same family
right.
and like to run.
One of my favorite dogs, I've never owned one, is a Russian wolfhound.
Yeah,
I think they're so outrageous looking.
yeah. Borzois are another one of my favorites.
That's it, yeah.
They're beautiful dogs. My aunt had one.
Yeah.
Beautiful dogs.
Yeah.
So, I just love dogs. I love all animals.
So would you train any other kind of animal?
Maybe. I haven't really thought of the idea. I'm
Tiger?
still, no. No.
No, I wouldn't think so. Although a friend of mine is in Thailand, and there's a group of monks that have tigers. That these tigers are so gentle, and it's a refuge, and people can come and lie down with them and hang out with
Yeah, but
them.
look at Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And they raised those cats as babies. So
Yeah. Yeah. Some people say that what happened is that
he was trying to save him.
he was trying to save him. So
And I believe that.
yeah,
But he still
yeah,
got hurt.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, we're not going to be raising tigers, and we will have you back, and you can bring. What's your dog's name?
Iggy.
Iggy?
Yeah.
It's good. So I want to thank you
Thank you.
for being my guest.
I had a
And-
great time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And once again, before we leave, where can people get in touch with you?
My website is cynthiasdogtraining.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Cynthia Valderrain.
Great. And let's get some videos and get you out there so that you can reach the rest of the country
That'd be
as
awesome.
well as Southern California.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. So thanks for being with us on The Best of LA with Suzy Prudden on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk, and we'll see you next year. Oh, no, next week. Where did that come from? I mess up on this show every single time, one way or another.